Maggie from the blog backtothelandliving.com, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to make a variety of curtains for your home with just one simple method. So right now I'm making the curtains for my sister's house, and I thought I would show you the method that I'm using. It's very simple. It's really a good basic sewing project if you're a beginner sewer or if you just want to do some updating to your home, and it's quick and it's easy. The reason that I chose to make these myself instead of her buying some is because it is significantly cheaper, and it also is just going to be custom to her windows. The reason that it's cheaper is because we bought all of the fabric on sale. If you were using full price fabric, it actually might not be cheaper, but for us it definitely was. We ended up spending about $80 on this fabric, and I think that will do 10 windows in our home, which is a great price for $8 per window. If you're looking for some good price fabric, if you go to any fabric store, usually at the back there's discount fabric, and that might just be it's the end of the line and they're no longer providing it, or it could just be there's a little flaw or something, or last season's fabric. And so I always check back there, and I think most of this, it was just over $2 or $3 a meter, and so it's a great price. For this project you're going to need some fabric. I'm going to be using linen, some blue linen. This is a polka dot cotton, and then just a stretch sheer fabric. And so it doesn't really matter what fabric as long as it drapes nicely and looks how you want it to. So to begin, you want to first measure the window that you're making your curtains for. I'm making curtains for the window behind me here, and so this window measures to be about 5.5 feet wide. And so I ended up cutting my curtain to be about 8 feet. So you want to cut your fabric larger than your window measures if you want to have there to be some bunching when you hang up your curtain. You'll also want to consider that you're going to need to have a seam allowance on each side, so that included my 1-inch seam allowance on each side. So I cut my fabric to be the 8 feet wide, and then I measured how high I wanted the curtain to be. So I only wanted the curtain to be about 1 foot and just along the top of the window, and so I cut my fabric to be 1 foot 5 inches tall, and that gave me 1 inch on the bottom for a seam allowance and then 4 inches on top, so I could fold it over and have a space for the curtain rod to go through. So after I cut out all my fabric, I went and I ironed it, and so I wanted to iron down the hem so it would be easier to sew. And so on the bottom and both ends, I folded a 1/2 inch, ironed it, and then another 1/2 inch, and that kept the raw edges within the hem and gave a nice straight edge to sew along. And on the top, I folded down a 1/2 inch, ironed it, and then 3 inches, so that gave a clean edge and also a spot for the curtain rod to go. So after the edges were all ironed down, I went and I pinned the corners just to hold everything in place while I sewed. So then I did a straight stitch all the way around the curtain. So my stitch length was 3 and my stitch width was 0, and I'm just on a straight stitch. And I went along just the inside of where I had ironed down, and just to catch the edge of it, and I sewed it actually upside down technically, so that I was sewing on the back side so I could see that I was actually catching that hem. And then after I had it all sewn around, I cut off the strings and I was done. And that left me with a foot wide and 8 feet long piece of fabric that was now a curtain. I have the hem around the whole edge, and I have the pocket, and this is where the rod will go for the curtain, and it's ready to be hung. So I also did the same process for making the curtains in the living room, but just did the same thing except for I did 2 panels on each side, same process, and made them the full length to the floor. And I did the same process for the curtains over the sink in the kitchen. And for this I just did 2 panels so that they could open in the middle. And it's more of a cafe style curtain, and it went up halfway. I measured halfway up the window to the window sill, added 4 inches on top for the seam allowance up there, and then 1 inch on the bottom and the sides. And I sewed them up, and this just is a really simple way to make curtains for any window in your home. I also did this in 1 large panel from the whole width of the window, from the top to the floor, and then that would just be swooped to the side. So I use the same method for making curtains for many different windows in the home. It's really simple, easy to do, and also pretty fast to do. And it can be really affordable if you use fabric that you find on sale, or if you use even an old bed sheet or some fabric you have laying around the house. So I hope that this tutorial has been helpful to you and has just shown you how simple it is to make your own curtains. So if you like this, let me know in the comments and let me know what kind of curtains are your favorite or what ones in this house were your favorite. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more content like this, please subscribe. I love to have you along and so you can see more of the videos that I put out every week. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.